teams have the game.
Others, the cocktail party, the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl.
But only one ever called itself a shootout.
371 miles and one famous river separate the campuses of OU and UT, but it might as well be a million.
They tell us everything's bigger there, but that doesn't mean better.
Jones's turn. Touchdown, Oklahoma.
We find out who's better over 4 quarters, one time every fall.
You can call it the shootout, the rivalry, the showdown, the rumble.
But no matter what you call it, it's 123 years of unforgettable moments.
We're not going to let them grow another horn.
So settle in for KOCO's Red River Rewind. All right, countdown is here to OU, Texas. Welcome inside the Cotton Bowl. I am Brian Keating. He is Elgin Rucker. This is the Red River Rewind. We're just a couple of days out from one of the great rivalries in all of sports, OU, Texas.
One of the greatest rivalries and longest running rivalries. Over 100 years of history. Most of those games played inside this stadium, so it's a great place to be.
Since 1932, they've played in the Cotton Bowl. And so all the great teams, we'll go back and look at a bunch of those. A bunch of great players. We talked to a bunch of great players. And then Barry Switzer. Nobody knows OU, Texas more than Coach Switzer. A lot of great Switzer stuff coming up in the show.
And a lot of great players who've played in this game. 9 Heisman winners, 7 from Oklahoma. Jason White is one of them. In that 2003 meeting, one of the best Oklahoma has ever produced against Texas.
White buys time, goes in zone, got a receiver. Touchdown!
20 years since we've seen Oklahoma beat Texas that bad. Of course, they want to try to do that again. Jason White can tell you how to do it because of what he did in that game, for sure.
It was 65-13, the largest margin of victory in the history of the series. Here's my conversation with the 2003 Heisman Trophy winner, Jason White.
You know, that was one of those games where you're just in the zone and everything just seems like it's in slow motion. Like you prepared well for the game, your team prepared well, you guys, in fact, that was a game that there was a little squabble before the game. So it only made it worse for us, like we were ready to play. But I just remember everything was in slow motion that game, and you know, anybody that's played sports, when you kind of get in that zone and things slow down for you, it just makes it so much easier. And the entire game, like that's the way it was for me. And a lot of the other guys felt the same way. I remember talking to Mark Clayton about it. He was like, it just seems like everything's like slow, and I'm watching the ball go all the way into my hands, and there's nobody in front of me, and I'm running free. So, you know, it was just one of those games that we were firing on all cylinders that game. We played really well.
The legendary Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas.
The atmosphere of the game, you know, I don't think there's any other games that are played inside a state fair. The smells, I mean, it's just, and as a player, especially if you're nervous, like those smells really get to you because it's all fried food, grease, you know, and so if you're already kind of nervous and nauseated, that only adds to it. But
what did you smell? That's the first time I've talked to a lot of people about the OU Texas game. No one's ever said they could smell from the stadium.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when you're in the stadium, you can smell like you know, just like that fair food. You know, the corn dog, the grease. You can smell the funnel cakes. I remember smelling the funnel cakes. But you know, it was just one of those things that it seemed like it made me more nauseous because of the smells, and I was already nervous anyway. So
the #1 team in the nation, unbeaten, and now they're coming onto the field at the Cotton Bowl.
The atmosphere of that game, and walking down the tunnel and walking out to a perfectly split stadium, is one of the best experiences I ever had. And you know, not to mention that Oklahoma and Texas, they touch, you know, and so Oklahoma's always recruiting Texas, and Texas is recruiting Oklahoma. So that just makes it that much more of a game because, you know, although you come from Texas, like you went to Oklahoma to be a Sooner, and now you want to go back into Texas to beat Texas, who probably recruited you at the same time. So, you know, I think that's probably the biggest, you know, draw for that game is, you know, the atmosphere, and then, you know, the bragging rights a lot, you know, especially for the recruiting.
Everybody talks about the tunnel. Just take me through kind of everything that goes into leaving the locker room and walking out onto the field.
So in my experience, one of the coolest parts of that game was walking down the tunnel for the very first time, at the start of the game. Because used to, I don't think they do it anymore because there's been some squams. So, but literally there would be a yellow tape line, and then there would be security guards lined up right, and OU's on one side and Texas is on the other. And like you're literally walking out to play the game, so you can imagine the jollying going back and forth. And so just walking down that tunnel, listening to all the jollying going back. And eventually, I think in 2003, there was a little squabble before the game, and it was just because of all the talking in the tunnel. The security guards can only hold back so much. So, but that was one of the funnest parts of that game, is just being able to, you're standing side by side to the team you're about to play, and you're walking down the tunnel at the same time.
White pitches it quickly to Clayton as we start the fourth quarter. Clayton's free, goes for the end zone, touchdown, Oklahoma.
What's the hat like putting it on?
The hat is small. It's actually, I don't know who can actually wear it and wear it right, but it's a small hat and it's hard as a rock. I mean, obviously it's hard.
Yeah.
But I think just passing it around the locker room and watching all the guys try it on, it kind of became a tradition.
All right, so here at the Cotton Bowl, this is the Texas Longhorns side. Bevo's going to hang out right over here somewhere. Look, we talked about this being one of the great rivalries, not just in college football, but all of college sports. But here's the thing. They can't quite decide what they want to call it.
Well, they keep switching. They started as rivalry, then it went to shootout, then showdown, and now we're back to rivalry, which I think is fitting since this will be the last time they play this game as members of the Big 12. So it's kind of going back to some of their roots with this.
Speaking of going back, and it wasn't the Big 12 then, but Bud Wilkinson used to beat up on the Texas Longhorns. So let's do that. Let's go to Bud's era, before 1970, the OU-Texas rivalry. November 16th, 1907. The moment U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt put quill pen to paper, officially declaring Oklahoma the 46th state. But the Sooners-Longhorns rivalry had already been played 9 times. The football team was already a part of the fabric of the state.
Oklahoma, birthplace of the Flying Farmers of America, the national home of the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and an up-and-coming younger generation, some blessed with both brains and beauty. Blessed also with the nation's leading Big Red football team.
That Big Red football team would go through a handful of head coaches, from Benny Owen to Dewey Luster, and a lot of losses to Texas. In the first 41 games against the Horns, OU won only 11 of them. But then, the perfect fit walked into Norman, Oklahoma. Former players called him a genius. Historians say he started tradition at Oklahoma. And you know him as Bud Wilkinson.
Inside Football with Bud Wilkinson, head coach of the University of Oklahoma's football team. 15 minutes of fast-moving, exciting highlights of football. The people, its plays, and its problems. Brought to you by your National Guard, a strong force of citizen soldiers and airmen.
From 1947 until 1963, the Sooners' leading man led the Crimson and Cream to win after win, including 47 in a row in the early 1950s. A college football record that still stands today, along with 3 national titles. Going into 1958, OU had won 6 in a row against the Longhorns, with Wilkinson at the helm.
Does it as well as it possibly can be done, with excellent blocking downfield on the punt return.
1958 would start the domino effect for Texas to stay in the win column until Wilkinson's resignation 6 years later. Wilkinson traded in Saturdays on the sideline for a race for a U.S. Senate seat and a job in the Kennedy administration. And OU traded in wins for almost a decade, beating Texas only 1 time in the 1960s. One of the things I think is really cool about this OU-Texas rivalry is that some of the main players in this series actually have a history at the other school, and obviously nobody more famous than that than Darrell Royal, the legendary head coach of the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, no one did it like him. He had an All-American season at Oklahoma, an undefeated season as well as a member of the Sooners football team, and then as a coach for the Longhorns. 12 wins against the Sooners. No other coach in the history of this rivalry has as many wins as that guy.
He's from Hollis, Oklahoma. He is also a legend in Austin, Texas. We went to Hollis. Our own Elise Jones has that story.
A little town tucked in the southwest corner of Oklahoma, home to one of the biggest names in football history, Darrell Royal.
There's a sign out there on the field as we go on the field. It's just something that traditionally when we go by, we give it a little tap.
If the local football team touches your name before every game 80 years after you graduate, you must have left a legacy.
He's a legacy. He'll never be forgotten in Hollis.
Darrell Royal was born and raised in Hollis, Oklahoma, and is still today remembered as a stellar athlete.
You can talk about Billy Sims, you can talk about all those great players. Darrell played both sides of the ball.
Kind of like catching magic in a bottle right there.
I was in junior high school, and Darrell was the big, great athlete in our county, in Harmon County. And he not only was the best football player at Hollis, but he was the best basketball player in the county and the best baseball player.
Ted Owens, later a coaching legend in his own right, coached basketball at Kansas for 2 decades and calls Darrell Royal his lifelong friend.
I'm very happy just to be people to mention me in the same breath that Darrell, because his career was just outstanding.
The punter, the playmaker, the perfect picture of an OU All-American.
Darrell had a great love for the University of Oklahoma and had a great love for his hometown of Hollis.
He started 9 games for OU at quarterback and never lost.
Royal set records and made his hometown proud, beating the Longhorns 2 out of 4 seasons in college.
There used to be a sign outside of Hollis, "Welcome to Hollis, home of Darrell Royal."
Despite his deep Oklahoma roots, he didn't always bleed crimson and cream.
We loved him until he went to Texas.
Coach Darrell Royal and Ernie Coy in the nation's spotlight and the eyes of Texas. The nation salutes the mighty Texas Longhorns and their magnificent coach Darrell Royal.
A decision that shocked Sooner fans and his hometown. This Oklahoman headline saying it all. Hollis upset with Darrell.
Yeah, it was a bitter rivalry. It still is.
How do you feel? I've got to be the happiest guy in America tonight.
One of the most decorated college football coaches in history.
And here's a big one for the Longhorns.
With 3 national championships and 0 losing seasons, Royal created a dynasty in Austin.
You deserve to be #1, and that's what you are.
Texas was thrilled to have him.
And Texas was hungry to beat Oklahoma. Royal did just that, 12 out of 20 times as coach. Owens says the first time Royal defeated his alma mater.
When he went down to shake hands with Bud, he cried. He was that emotional about it because Bud Wilkinson was his hero.
That's when Texas knew they had their guy. After his first season, the Texas House of Representatives named Royal an honorary Texan, and even the OU fans were tuning in.
The only time I rooted against Darrell was when they played OU.
I can remember some games when I was a little bitty guy and we'd watch Texas. And I probably didn't understand why we were watching Texas play, but my dad knew the coach.
When Royal stepped down from head coach, Owens says his career was far from over and his legacy at UT just beginning.
I've always said that I wanted to leave before people wanted me to leave.
And the Board of Regents, they came over and said, "Darrell, we have a question we need to ask you. Could we have your permission to name the stadium the Darrell K. Royal Stadium?" And of course, they were floored.
But back in Hollis, they wouldn't forget Royal either, also naming their field after their homegrown legend.
I think he was proud of his roots, proud of what he accomplished at OU, wasn't ashamed of what he did at Texas, whether you liked it or not.
A reminder that no dream is too small.
It's just an encouragement for young people that you're going to run into a lot of difficulties in life and certainly in sports. And everything's not going to be easy. That's what Darrell was. He was an example of what you can do if you work hard, if you sacrifice, if you believe and have strong faith that you can be successful.
Royal passed away in 2012, and while he may have died a Longhorn,
His legacy is with Sooner fans.
I think the Sooner fans can be very proud that Darrell Royal was a part of Sooner Nation.
Oklahoma will always be the home of Darrell Royal.
Darrell's association and success with Coach Wilkinson and the success he'd had against Texas as a player opened doors for him. He probably wouldn't have gotten the Texas job were not for what had happened to him at Oklahoma, and he was always grateful for that. Always grateful for what happened to him at a little town, Hollis, Oklahoma.
In Hollis, Elise Jones, KOCO 5 News.
And so this is what everybody talks about. You know, that famous 50-50 split right here down the 50-yard line. And so I'm on the OU side. Everything this way is crimson and cream. And I had to put you on the Texas side. You got to hang out Bevo over there with the Texas fans.
That's okay. I don't mind it. I do really love the visual that it gives. The 50-50 split, it's become synonymous with the Cotton Bowl, but there have been talks in the past about moving it to campus sites or even Jerry's World in Arlington. But our very own Kobe Terrell set out to find exactly why this game keeps getting played right here on this field.
Texas and Oklahoma.
Both states take a tremendous amount of pride in winning that game.
College football fans know from the beginning there was OU and there was Texas. And right in the middle, the Cotton Bowl.
Many say you can't have the two teams play without the Cotton Bowl. I talked to a historian about what the venue means for Sooners and Longhorns.
66-33 in Norman.
1912 was the first time they played in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas.
At the core of the sport, the tradition, the pageantry, everything that goes into that in a college game day atmosphere, it all kind of culminates at the Cotton Bowl.
To the right side on the move, touchdown OU.
But still, the rumors the game could change venues are as old as time.
There's nothing like the Cotton Bowl.
In 2009, KOCO 5 asked fans what they thought about moving the game to play at the Cowboys Stadium. Still a middle ground for the two teams.
We like it right here. The atmosphere of the state fair is what we come for.
Every year?
Every year.
So would you still come, obviously?
Obviously, but this is what makes it different, makes it special.
Here's what we know. The current contract runs through 2025, but we also know things are changing, with both teams headed for the SEC. Commissioner Greg Sankey told KOCO this summer the league wouldn't meddle with the location.
Those two schools decide that's a tradition that they want to honor, and we honor that with them.
And as long as the two teams remain permanent opponents, observers think it's likely nothing changes.
Handshake agreement, or whatever you want to call it, between Oklahoma and Texas right now.
When the game's contract was extended in 2014, OU's athletic director said the University of Oklahoma is thrilled about preserving the rich tradition of this game in the city of Dallas. One historian told me that rich tradition had a huge benefit to OU over the years.
Prior to World War II, Texas had a large lead in winning percentage over OU. After World War II, state leaders and OU leaders decided they wanted to push back against this grapes of wrath image of Oklahoma, and they put a lot of money in the program. They tried to attract World War II veterans, and since World War II, OU's been a powerhouse, and it's been over 500 in the OU-Texas game.
He says the Cotton Bowl meant national recognition for the changes OU was trying to make.
There weren't a lot of games on television until, late 20th century, but that game was always on television, that and OU Nebraska. So that helped get eyes on the University of Oklahoma.
Do you think that it would be that way if it weren't for the Cotton Bowl?
No.
Fans new and old wanted to stay here, and even team reporters can't imagine the game without the venue.
Home and aways, people throw that kind of stuff out there.
No, never. I mean, I think that's like one of the truly special portions of OU Texas in preserving the rivalries, playing at the Cotton Bowl.
If it leaves the Texas State Fair, then I think it becomes just another rivalry game.
It's a generation thing, my grandparents or, parents before them, it should stay in Dallas. There's no way it should move.
Fans got a taste of that game outside the fair back in 2018 when the two met in the Big 12 Championship.
It just wasn't the same.
And no matter how bad or good the teams are, you watch. And fans will always feel the same way about their rival.
That hatred for, the burnt orange and then the burnt orange that hates the crimson and cream, that will definitely be full throttle.
Touchdown OU!
Colby Terrell, KOCO 5 News.
As we continue our walk through the history of the OU-Texas rivalry, we get to the 1970s. It's a decade known for disco, Richard Nixon's resignation, and Oklahoma beating Texas.
Someone asked me last night, says, Coach, you know what that means? I said, well, through the years, I've heard it called different things. And he said, well, Coach, what that represents is the only 2 games they've won this decade. Saturday, we're not going to let them go another horn.
Every game in the 70s featured at least one top 10 team. 6 times, both teams were in the top 10. The Sooners won 6 of those 10 games, the Longhorns won 3, and then there was the 1976 tie.
Oklahoma's #1, and we're going to beat the hell out of Texas.
The entire scene surrounding the rivalry was at a fever pitch, according to Oklahoma broadcasting legend Jack Ogle.
This is where it'll all happen Friday night here on Commerce Street in Dallas, Texas. The people will mill up and down the streets in unbelievable numbers. Cars will parade up and down this street, bumper to bumper, and filling the street from side to side, winding along like a wounded snake.
And tickets, man, those were a hot commodity. So KOCO reporter Gan Matthews set out to find a way inside.
One good way to locate an OU Texas ticket is to go through the classified advertisements of the newspaper. But you may be sure you'll end up paying more than the list price of $12, even if scalping is illegal. Or you can offer something besides money.
In 1975, one man wanted an OU Texas ticket so badly that he offered his entire collection of Willie Nelson records and a date with his wife in exchange for one. That may have been the most bizarre ad for an OU Texas ticket of all time. But those in 1979 aren't bad either.
This is the best of the lot, placed by a man in Davis, Oklahoma. And for 2 sets of dentures, he's not going to settle for any end zone tickets. You can bet on that. And if you need a place to stay in Big D, here's just the thing. Only $350. Car optional, tickets definitely not included.
Stay with us on the Red River Rewind. Coming up next, we're talking to the king, Barry Switzer, one of the all-time legends of the OU-Texas rivalry. And you know what? Switzer beat Texas 9 times.
Put in the greatest defensive performance has ever been on. You get